Only a high school diploma? Dropping out of middle school is kind of sketchy, isn't it? Look, there's a reason for that. No need to explain. Our worlds are just different, okay? You don't have to put it like that. I'm married 33 years old. I have been married to my husband David for 10 years. We have a first-grade daughter named Betty, making us a family of 3. I have loved drawing since I was a kid and now I work in the arts. Currently, I'm pregnant with our second child. As my belly grows, each day becomes increasingly challenging. Despite his busy schedule, David tries to come home early. He even takes time off work to handle chores and childcare for me. Life was good for our little family, but something started bothering me recently. We live on the first floor of a high-rise apartment building. The other day, while coming back from shopping, I saw a woman moving into our building. Turns out she's Emma, a classmate from middle school. I hadn't seen Emma since a get-together right after middle school. When she noticed me, she said, "Wait, Mary? You live here too?" "Yeah, what about you? Moving in today?" Apparently, Emma had just moved into the building. Her face fell when she realized I was also a resident. Living in the same high-rise as a dropout? Unbelievable. You see, I'm a dropout just like Emma said. I had reasons not to pursue further education after middle school, but I never told Emma. Last time we met, Emma had mocked me for being a high school dropout, and it seemed like nothing had changed. She was still belittling me. Annoyed, I listened as Emma continued. "So what floor are you on? I'm on 35. I realized Emma was trying to show off based on the floor number in the apartment building. I answered truthfully, "I'm on the first floor." Hearing this, Emma's face lit up with smug satisfaction. "First floor? Makes sense. You're a dropout after all. I'll have to invite you up to my 35th floor place sometime. Great views, you know." Emma continued to boast. Emma apparently worked at a major corporation after graduating from college up until last year. Now, she plans to start her own business and use this high-rise apartment as both her home and office. So that basically makes me the CEO. What about you? Do you work? When Emma asked, I began to explain my work. "Yeah, I'm in the art business." Emma interrupted. "Art? You mean like drawing? That's a job?" Feeling belittled, I snapped back. I've turned what I love into a career, and it is a real job. Emma ignored me, saying, "Well, it must be so nice working within the household income. What's your goal, like $900 a month?" I just listened in silence, not having the energy to retort. People like you who dropped out live in a different world from elites like me. Just then, David and our daughter Betty, dressed in work clothes, walked up. "Mom."
"Oh, Mary, do you know each other?"
When David spoke to me, Emma looked up and down and laughed. "Is this your husband in work clothes?" Feeling insulted, I finally snapped back. "Why are you laughing? That's rude." Emma continued unapologetic. "I wasn't laughing. He's just the type I would expect for a dropout like you. 2-income family on the first floor. He must not make much either." Finally, I had enough of Emma's rudeness. "How dare you say that about my husband? Apologize." Emma laughed and said, "Why would I apologize? By the way, are you pregnant?" It was then she finally noticed my pregnancy. "Yes, I'm 7 months along." "Must be tough financially with another child on the way." "Can you even afford to live here?" I didn't want to hear any more of Emma's snide comments. I grabbed David and Betty and headed home. Emma called out after us, "See you. Come up to the 35th floor if you ever want a good view." But I ignored her and went inside. I couldn't shake my anger at Emma all day. Why did she have to say those things? That night, after Betty had gone to sleep, David asked me what had happened. I told him about Emma, how she had made fun of me for being a dropout and belittled my work. David's face turned red and he seemed even angrier than I was. David knew about my past, including the fact that I dropped out of school and chose to marry me with a complete understanding of who I am. We decided to keep our distance from Emma since the anger towards her didn't seem to subside for a while. Luckily, we didn't run into Emma for a month, allowing us to live our lives peacefully. Then one day, we received a postcard for a school reunion. I still get along well with my middle school friends, so after getting a few messages about meeting at the reunion, I decided to go. While I looked forward to catching up with friends, I was also a bit concerned about running into Emma and hearing her unwelcome comments. But thinking that after having a baby, I would have fewer chances to meet my friends, I set aside my worries about Emma and decided to attend the reunion, and then the day of the reunion arrived. The reunion took place in a rented hotel ballroom. As soon as I arrived, I met up with friends I hadn't seen in years, and we immediately fell into enjoyable conversation. It had been a long time since we had all caught up, and there was so much to talk about. Our friend group has always been tight-knit regardless of gender. Some have become mothers, others fathers, and we all love catching up about our families and careers. But then, out of the blue, we heard Emma's voice from behind. Ugh, breathing the same air as poor people is making me sick. As expected, Emma had shown up too. We hadn't noticed her since we were only speaking with friends we were actually close to. Emma was wearing heavy makeup and a flashy dress that seemed out of place. Both my friends and I sighed at her over the top appearance and her consistently bad attitude. Even back in middle school, she was self-centered and made awkward comments. She was someone we tended to avoid. Nothing has changed. Even now at 33, she is as obnoxious as ever. And we couldn't help but roll our eyes. One friend finally broke the silence. Emma, who are you calling Pool? She replied, who else? But Mary, she's a dropout, so she's poor and lives on the first floor. I live on the 35th. It's like a master-servant relationship. Emma laughed after saying this. A few friends were angered by her comments and confronted her. But Emma showed no signs of remorse. She continued, if you don't want to be called poor, why don't you move to an older apartment that suits you? Completely oblivious to the looks she was getting, she continued to belittle me. Why don't you just leave, you $900 a month earner? From this reunion and from that fancy apartment building. Hearing this, my friends looked puzzled and asked, Mary, do you only earn $900 a month? I replied, no, that's just what Emma believes. While we were talking, Emma interrupted, what are you two whispering about? Mary's living comfortably on her husband's income, doing a part-time job because she's a dropout, and I am a CEO. That's when a male classmate nearly spoke up.
Emma, do you not know Mary is a well-known artist?
Upon hearing this, Emma looked baffled and asked, an artist? Who cares? I decided to come clean with Emma, not wanting to let her arrogance ruin the mood of the reunion any further. I actually studied art in France, right after middle school. I didn't complete a formal program, so you could say I dropped out. Upon hearing this, Emma scoffed. What? France? Studying? Art is just a hobby, isn't it? You're still a dropout who ran away because you didn't want to study. Emma clearly didn't get it, so I elaborated a bit more. I spent several years training, and now I manage an art gallery while also creating my own works. Believe it or not, I have fans and have even held my own exhibitions. Some classmates here have even bought my art. In reality, I was a young artist known within certain circles. After training in France, I returned to New York and kickstarted my career as an artist, which finally blossomed in recent years. As for David, we met at one of my exhibitions and clicked instantly, which led to marriage. Even with all this explanation, Emma still didn't seem to get it. Come on. An exhibition is still just play, right? I am a CEO. I'm clearly winning here. Exasperated, I replied, this isn't about winning or losing, Emma. You may think I'm foolish for pursuing art, but I take my work seriously. Emma, not wanting to concede, fired back. Then why are you living on the first floor? If you're making that much money, you should be living on a higher floor. There is a reason we are living on the first floor, I explained. We were on a different floor before, but given that I'm pregnant and elevators can take forever here, we moved to the first floor for convenience. Emma seemed unwilling to accept my explanation. My friends all knew about my career and even classmates I wasn't particularly close to had heard I was an artist. Emma probably never considered that possibility given that she had zero interest in art and looked down on me for being a dropout. And I had another secret. Just as I was about to reveal this, I saw David and Betty at the entrance. Mom! Betty comes running towards me, followed by David chasing her from behind. David, scratching his head, says,
Sorry about that, got pulled into some work stuff. Brought Betty along too.
While David and I were talking, Emma blurted out, "Wait, who is this handsome man, your husband? He was in work clothes last time. Why the suit now?" David was indeed dressed sharply today. Emma couldn't take her eyes off him, so different from the work clothes she saw him in before. David began greeting my friends.
Thank you for always being kind to my wife. Is everything to your satisfaction? Please let us know if there is anything you need.
Just then, the organizer rushed over. Thank you for providing this venue for free. The food and drinks are top-notch. Really, thank you. The truth was, this hotel belonged to David's parents, and he was now the CEO. David had generously offered the venue free of charge for the reunion. Emma's face turned pale upon hearing this. "You are a CEO's wife?" She had looked down on me as poor, but here I was, an artist and a CEO's wife. Emma seemed to be in complete shock. "Why are you, a dropout, married to someone this wealthy, when an elite like me is still single? What did you do to pull this off?" Emma challenged me with a tone of bitterness. David finally noticed Emma and said,
Oh, we have met before. Sorry for being in work clothes the last time. I was helping with a neighborhood cleanup. As the owner of the high-rise apartment, it's important to maintain good relations in the community.
Emma's face turned pale. "Wait, you own that high-rise? Your family owns it?" In fact, David owns that high-rise. His family has been wealthy for generations, involved in hotel management and owning multiple properties. We live in one of those properties, the high-rise in question. Emma stood there stunned, unable to come up with a retort. David added,
Oh, by the way, we would like to invite you to the penthouse sometime. It has a great view. You can even see the Empire State Building.
Emma was shocked again. "The penthouse? But don't you guys live on the first floor?" Hearing that, I decided to tell her the truth. "I told you before, I'm pregnant, so we made the first floor our home as well. Basically, both the penthouse and the first floor are ours." Emma was speechless, her body limp with disbelief. With that, I noticed that the friends around us had gone silent, listening intently to our conversation. Feeling like I had ruined the atmosphere of the reunion, I began to head for the exit with David and Betty in tow. As I was leaving, Emma mumbled, "A dropout acting so cocky." I turned to my daughter, who could probably hear Emma's comment. "What matters most is what's inside. Never look down on people." Betty nodded and cheerfully replied. Then Betty turned to Emma and said, "Emma, if you keep making faces like that, happiness will run away from you." Everyone in the room burst into laughter. The atmosphere improved, but Emma, now a laughingstock, ran out of the venue blushing. The reunion proceeded in good spirits, and I enjoyed the rest of the evening with my friends. They too had been mistreated by Emma in the past, so Betty's last word made everyone feel relieved. Months passed and we never encountered Emma at the high-rise again. So one day when David came home, he told me that Emma had finally moved out of the luxury high-rise. According to David, turns out Emma had been skipping rent for 3 months. I even had a lawyer come in to issue an eviction notice. She then skipped town almost overnight. Hearing this, I was floored. David mentioned that the room Emma had rented was left just as it was, furniture, clothes, and all. Apparently, she took her expensive stuff and computer but left everything else as it is. At first, I suspected something shady, but soon after, I got an update on Emma from a friend. Turns out Emma was pretending to be a successful entrepreneur, but in reality, she was practically jobless. She had some savings from her corporate days, allowing her to live comfortably for a while. But of course, that lifestyle couldn't last. She couldn't pay the rent anymore and had to move out. She didn't even have another place lined up, so she left her furniture and clothes behind because she didn't have the money to dispose of them. Learning the truth, I was thoroughly disgusted by how Emma remained a burden to others till the end. Emma has such a terrible personality that even in her crisis, she has no friends or colleagues who would help her. Now she's living alone in an old apartment. She's scraping by with part-time jobs to make ends meet. She used to brag about being a lead and look down on me, a college dropout. I bet her pride is shattered now. I can only hope that she learns to live a more humble and earnest life going forward. As for me, I continue to enjoy my life painting pictures and spending time with my daughter and husband. Our family of 3 gets along wonderfully. And I'm excited that we will soon become a family of 4, including the baby on the way. I intend to keep doing everything I can to protect my family's happiness.